boy, why would you pass on a curve like that? That's cool. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Yammie Noob. Today, it is the first impression ride of the 2019 Yamaha MT09, the master of torque, itself the wheelie monster, and the squid missile du jour. It's a wonderful motorcycle, and the best part about this motorcycle is it's one of our new giveaway bikes. You heard that right. This is part of our intermediate bike giveaway series. You know, we've been doing the beginner bike giveaway for a while, started doing expert bikes, that's done really well, dabbled modern classic, we're gonna do some Harleys, maybe a certain Indian motorcycle coming along that way, but I realized that there was a big gap in the middle, and the middleweight section, really, if you want to think about it that way. And these kind of bikes fit the mold. You got your MT09s, your Kawasaki ZX6s, your R6s, all those kinds of motorcycles fit now in this intermediate bike giveaway. So if you want the chance to win this MT09 for free, hit the link down below to yammienoob.co, sign up and become a member. You can cancel at any time. You can bundle your subscription and get access to all of our other sweepstakes as well. If none of that suits your fancy, if you don't want access to our Discord server and all that, you can always click the link down below and join via our merch. If you purchase anything on the merch page, every dollar you spend gets an entry to win this motorcycle. So with that out of the way, let's talk about this machine. So what is it? So back in 2014, Yamaha released this really bizarre 3-cylinder naked motorcycle for about $8,000 on the showroom floor. It was cheap, it was affordable, it made a ton of horsepower, a ton of torque for the price, and was just instantly a big hit and big success. Yamaha then followed it up with their MT07, and now everyone knows about these MT lines of bikes. No longer do we have FZ and FZ09s and FZ07s. Everything is MT across the global range. MT does literally stand for Master of Torque. You can see it on Yamaha's marketing materials, which is really funny. And this 2019 model has been revised since the first 2014. It now features a new front end, which is really awesome. I used to own a 2014 FZ09, and my biggest gripe with that was the front suspension on this motorcycle. As you can tell, the ergonomics package on this machine is kind of wonky. It's sort of like motard-esque. Yamaha, whenever this bike first came out, claimed it as a roadster motard. So you have very high bars here, kind of a low seat, kind of low pegs, and it's a really wonky kind of bike. Given its short wheelbase, its ergonomics package, there's a reason why these things just yank the front wheel like nobody's business. The MT09 kind of wheelies you. You don't really wheelie it. It just kind of determines when it's going to do that. So features and benefits of this motorcycle. Benefits, it has full healthcare coverage. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so this bike, as you can tell, it has the pretty simplistic dash here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on so that we don't drain the battery. Let's go ahead and get a sound check of it. Stock exhaust is really quite quiet still. I'd love to get a full system on this thing like I had for my old FZ09. And as you can tell, it spools up really fast. This is a really hopped up 847cc triple cylinder engine. So you can see here, it is spicy. This is a great engine, and people really, really love this. Just with the low end grunt that it has, even though it's an 847, I feel like this thing literally pulls like an 1100 or 1200cc motorcycle. It's got tons of grunt. Feels awesome to ride. This 2019 version has the updated headlights up here, different from the big round headlight that it used to have. And going through here on the features and benefits like we were talking about, you have a couple rider modes. You have standard A and B. A mode is kind of like stupid throttle, stupid everything. B mode is basically rain mode. And standard mode is your everyday road riding mode. That's the mode I like to ride this motorcycle in. It features traction control as well. It's got 1 and 2. You can see here, got 2 and 1. And that is about it. From what I understand, from what I've been riding this bike around a little bit, 1 allows you to do wheelies, and 2 does not allow you to do wheelies. That's about it. This bike doesn't really have a whole lot of anything else. Basically, Yamaha designed a fantastic engine, put an okay frame on it, and then built everything else around it. So, without further ado, let's swing a leg, and let's go have some fun with this bike. So, as I mentioned, ergonomics package on this machine is very weird. It's very motardy. It's very upright. You know, it's even for a naked bike, very, very upright. You're really low in this bike, really high in the handlebars. I've got a solid bend in my legs here. I cannot remember the seat height of this motorcycle off the top of my head, but I have a 32-inch inseam on my legs, and I can very comfortably flat foot this motorcycle. Got both feet down here, and it's a pretty easy ride. As we take off here in first gear, this ergonomics package really helps you manipulate this motorcycle in low speed conditions. As I show you here, it's really easy to kind of, you know, whip around little circles on this bike. Very, very comfortable to ride around. It's no problem at all doing the slow speed kind of maneuvers on this thing. It's really, really intuitive to ride. Now, this is definitely not a beginner's motorcycle. There's a reason why we have placed this in the intermediate category, and that's because this bike really is an intermediate kind of rider's bike. So let's get it out on the open road and see how she does. It's just an animal, absolute animal of a bike. It's a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas, about 75 degrees, bright and sunny. Almost December. You can't ask for much more than that, can you? Taking off here on the MT09. But the first thing you notice about this bike is just this engine. It's just an absolute freight train of torque and power, and it really makes itself known. Basically, from the first time you take off in first gear, you can instantly feel the power and torque that this machine has. It's extremely powerful. I've ridden plenty of high horsepower motorcycles, lots of liter bikes. Oh boy, why would you pass on a curve like that? That's cool. Probably keep our vision up and we watch for obstacles, right? Oh, it's sketchy as hell. Anyways, this motorcycle makes its engine known from the moment that you twist the throttle. You take off in first gear, you can immediately tell this is a very powerful engine, lots of torque. There's a reason why they call it the master of torque, as cringy as that marketing may be for Yamaha. And the next thing you notice is just how comfortable it is to spend time in the saddle on this thing. Spite and I were talking about it because we were just filming another video here, and you know, this machine is super comfortable for the all-day ride. I totally understand why folks like to get these as, you know, street bikes, because they just make a ton of sense. If you want to do big miles and have big smiles, the MT09 platform is definitely the way to go. I'm extremely comfortable on this thing. This rider triangle is only a little bit more aggressive than my desert sled, and that's basically like a big adventure bike. So it's kind of silly that Yamaha has made this. It literally feels like a shrunken down version of a supermoto, but then the huge triple cylinder engine. But it's still a sport bike through and through. You can tell that by the way the front end suspension acts. You can tell by the way it kind of flicks over from side to side. This thing definitely wants to party and have fun, but it's a very different sport bike experience than your street triples, than your, you know, Z900s, that sort of thing. This is altogether its own motorcycle due to these ergonomics on it, really. Now, one thing that does kind of stink, and Yamaha is addressing this in their updated version of the MT09 that's coming out in 2021, is, you know, it feels a little cheap, a little budget. It's very plasticky feeling, you know. This bike, especially with this dash, is super long in the tooth now, when everybody else has the TFT display. I mean, even something like the Duke 390 has a way nicer dash than this MT09. But, you know, the fundamentals of this motorcycle are here, you know. This bike does really, really well at being a motorcycle first and foremost, you know. These bikes are really bulletproof too, from what I understand. They don't really break down very much. Yamaha makes a great product. Their MT bikes are very tough, very robust, built really, really well to withstand abuse. But, you know, this is a motorcycle that can definitely take some solid amounts of abuse. And just look at the way lots of torque and power on tap out of this thing. Tons of fun to ride. And it's a big reason why I had one as my own personal street bike way back in the day. Like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, I had a 2014 FC09 that I had a lot of fun with. I sort of outgrew it in the way that the kind of riding I was trying to approach and what I wanted to do with motorcycles. A MT09, FC09 sort of machine didn't really fit my bill after a certain amount of time. But, you know, as I mentioned, since this is our intermediate bike, this is a sort of machine that, you know, I could see someone getting as their second or third motorcycle, really having some fun with it and utilizing it, you know, as that first experience of, like, you know, big power on a bike. 'Cause this thing makes such a big impression on you if you've never ridden a fast motorcycle, if you've only ever ridden, you know, kind of the 650 class, which they feel nice and punchy. If you've ridden 400s, if you jump on one of these right here in second gear, if you get on it, just... It's a fast bike, no doubt about it. It's a very rapid machine, and it makes that impression known. Now, it's funny that Yamaha has revised this front end suspension, because it still feels the exact same as my 2014 FZ09. Mid-corner stability is basically non-existent on this thing. It does exactly the same thing that my old FZ09 used to do. This bike, once you pitch it over on the side of the tire, it wobbles and wiggles and shakes, and it just is not stable. It feels like it never settles. And that's, you know, that is my feedback on it, but I'm not the only person that thinks so. I actually heard on a podcast the other day on Revzilla that Ari Henning, you know, basically tried to make an FZ09 better. He spent a lot of time tweaking the front end suspension, a couple geometry things on it, you know, trying to dial it in, and basically said that he could never get it to do what he wanted to do. And I totally see that. I know a lot of guys track their FZ09s, but I don't really know why, because it feels to me that there are fundamental things that are kind of wrong with this bike for very aggressive, highly sporty kind of riding, track-based riding, that doesn't really work. But with all that being said, you know, Yamaha didn't build a track day special with this thing. What they've done, and they've done a really good job of, is make a motorcycle that is super fun to ride. This is the street bike to get if you're a bit of a hooligan, if you want to have some fun times on it, you want to do some wheelies, and you want to do it on the cheap. You know, I think of something like the Ducati Hypermotard 950 SP, which I rode last year, and I just felt like it was just such a dumb hooligan fun street motorcycle. And the MT09 basically gives you 80% of what that bike can do, but for less than half the price. The Ducati Hypermotard SP is like 19 grand or something like that. This motorcycle, I bought it secondhand for about 7,500 bucks. So you can get an absolute bob-stopping amount of motorcycle for $7,500 all day long on an MT09. I mean, look at this. This thing, $7,500 worth of motorcycle, and it's just, golly, that's a lot of grunt for that kind of money, you know? That's like Craigslist leader bike money. But these bikes make a really, really great, you know, second motorcycle, third motorcycle. Like I was saying, you know, they're a ton of fun to ride, and they're going to teach you a lot. What a stupid bike. Why does it do that? It's so stupidly overpowered. It's so much fun. What I like about this bike too is, you know, it fits the bill for me of a flexible kind of motorcycle. I talked to you guys a lot about how I like bikes that you can use for a lot of different purposes, and damn, this is one of them, you know? If you're not a super experienced track day rider, racer, such as myself, you know, you're not going to really notice some of the stuff that this bike does at the limit or really be upset about it, you know? So this can be an occasional track day bike for you. The ergonomics are a little bit funny, but you can work around that. This can be a commuter. This could totally be an everyday commuter kind of motorcycle. It works super, super well for that. It's so comfortable to ride, and, you know, if you're just cruising and chilling on it, it does the job really well. This can be a long distance bike too. All you gotta do is put a comfier seat on it, which the seat's actually pretty comfy, but if you put something even comfier, taller windscreen, bark busters, heated grips, that whole thing, Pirelli Angel GTs, or, you know, a more long distance kind of tire, you can go and literally ride this to wherever you want. Even beyond that, what's really weird about this bike is because of the ergonomics, this is just my personal opinion. I don't think anyone should do this, but I think you can. You can totally tackle some like light gravel and forest roads with this thing. Is it going to be super fun? Probably not. But if you're trying to get to a fun campsite, this thing can go just as far as anybody on a GS can go, honestly. I don't really have a problem in saying that. I think it's perfectly fine and adequate for that. And in fact, I will show you right over here in this very small little gravel pit. I don't know why I'm testing this bike in this way. Kind of feel like Zach Kort's doing his little off-road tests on the V4 that he did earlier. But, you know, look at this. Gravel, pit, this bump right here. Kind of soaks it up. It's weird that it does it, but it kind of does it, you know. It's not that bad at it. Got some tire slip there, and look at this. Would you want to? Probably not. But if you're dumb, you can do it. And I love that. I love that in a bike that you can be flexible with and enjoy and have fun. That's awesome. That's really, really sweet, you know? Again, to carve up twisties, the ergonomics are a bit funny, but this thing really just goes like stink. And I totally get why this is the Squid Missile bike. I mean, look at that. That's an awesome amount of grunt out of this thing. Straight up, you don't need any more power than that. That is rad. That's a ton of fun. But again, as a more seasoned rider, the sporty nature of this bike does disappoint me a bit, you know? You totally can have fun with it, but it's almost like all it's really good at is going fast in a straight line. This bike to me is kind of like a bone stock Mustang 5.0 from like 2013 or whatever the hell. You know, yeah, those cars are fast as hell, and like this bike is the same way. It's just got tons of grunt, but nothing else is really that great in it. It's a little cheap, it's a little plasticky feeling, but you know, that doesn't stop you from having a really fun time on this bike. And I'm really looking forward to making these videos with this bike for you guys, because there's, I think, a lot to talk about the MT09, and it's been a long time since I've owned one, and I'm excited to show you guys what it's like to deal with, answer your questions, all that stuff. So if you're interested in asking me questions about this MT09 and stuff we're going to do to it, and you can even help us decide what you want us to do with it, you can hit the link down below to yammienoob.co and sign up for our Discord server. It's a place where you can chat with me and Spite and all of our other awesome community. We're recently reinvesting a lot of money into the community to make it better. We do weekly live streams with everybody, like a big contest thing. You know, we have a ton of fun on the server, and I think it's the best way to support what we do and to just get involved with what we do here at a higher level, you know, to be deeper connected to Yammie Noob. I want to be in your bedroom is what I'm saying. I want to be right there, nestled right next to you, sleeping next to you, and just telling you, go do some dank nooners on your motorcycle today. Go ride your FZ09 off-road. I don't know, go have fun, go do wheelies, go slide it around. Anyways, closing remarks on the MT09 here. This bike leaves a very strong impression. This is like a plate of very, very seasoned food, and there's a lot of it, right? This is like a giant plate of wings, you know? You feel a little guilty for eating it, but man, it's good when you got your teeth into it, you know? It's really good stuff. The MT9's a rad bike, so I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Remember, we're giving this away, intermediate bike giveaway, and see you later.
Keep watching Yammie Noob. 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 Keep watching Yammie Noob.